Thank you for being here this morning. I'm joined here by Newport Beach Police Chief John Lewis, and as you know, his department handled the initial investigation and submitted that to the District Attorney's Office in September. Together, our departments have been very busy pouring a lot of work into this case to make sure that justice is served. As a result, the Orange County District Attorney's Office has filed amended charges this morning, reflecting the seriousness of the conduct of the two defendants. As of today, we're able to file charges on behalf of 7 victims. Both defendants, Grant Robicheaux and Cerissa Riley, are charged with multiple counts of kidnapping with the intent to commit sexual offense, rape by the use of drugs, assault with the intent to commit sexual offenses, possession of a controlled substance for sale, and its corresponding sentencing enhancements. Additionally, Robicheaux is charged with forcible rape, an additional count of rape by use of drugs, and possession of an illegal assault weapon. If convicted, Robicheaux faces 82 years and 4 months to life in prison, and Riley faces 63 years to life in prison. As you saw in court, bail set at $1 million. Over the last few weeks, our investigators, both in the Orange County District Attorney's Office and the Newport Beach Police Department, have received nearly 100 phone calls providing new leads and some cases with additional victims. We've been actively investigating all of these leads, and today we filed the most immediate on the most immediate victims with evidence beyond a reasonable doubt to support the charges, but the investigation continues. With the assistance of our regional computer forensics lab, in which we're partners with the FBI, we're continuing to go through the digital evidence, or the electronic evidence. None of the evidence in the new charges involves digital media evidence recovered from the defendants. Some of the victims reported assaults that occurred outside of Orange County's jurisdiction, and we provided the respective law enforcement agencies with those details. As the information came together, we were able to appropriately charge kidnapping with intent to commit rape charges regarding 3 victims. We believe if the defendants met the victims in a public place, drugged them while in that place, and relocated them back to their home, back to the defendant's home after their victims were rendered incapable of consent with the intent to sexually assault their prey, that's kidnapping. Until we were able to file the new charges, the Orange County District Attorney's Office could not bring a new bail request. As soon as we were able to amend the complaint, we felt the defendant should be held on bond that appropriately reflects the seriousness of the charges. I commend all of the victims for bravely coming forward. I'm sure that it was one of the hardest things that they've ever had to do, but their echoed sentiment was that they wanted to support the first 2 women who came forward and to make sure that no one else suffers in silence the way they did. Through the strength of the first 2 victims, 5 more courageous women have stepped forward to face their attackers, and we think there are more victims out there. I want to be very clear about this. If you feel that you've been victimized by this couple, we need you to come forward. And please understand that if you feel that you were voluntarily intoxicated, or you feel that you went along for some time period until you were intoxicated beyond the point of consent, nobody has a pass. Nobody has a pass to rape, to have sexual contact with you once you're unable to give consent, once you're past the point of consent. So if you feel victimized by either or both of these defendants, please contact the Orange County District Attorney's Office at 714-347-8794 and let us help you. That completes the formal statement that I had to make. Yes, Michelle.
Tony, why weren't the defendants charged earlier or taken into custody earlier? We know a search warrant was served at their home at the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, yet nothing was filed for 9 months. Why?
So it took some time to bring everything together. As you know, it does take a substantial amount of time often to work on these cases, to get all the evidence and to put it together. And I'm not. So, what time period were you talking about again?
So there was a search warrant served on their home.
Yes. Yes.
End of 2017, January of 2018, so the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
So
Right.
about 9 months later, the case was filed. What was the delay? I mean, were the victims unwilling to help in order to prosecute them? What was going on?
You know, we didn't have the case. We didn't have the case at that point. We were working with the Newport Beach police, and the chief is here to answer those kinds of questions. So, Chief, if you wanted to discuss that.
Thanks, Michelle. Obviously, these are complicated cases, and what we're concerned with in this investigation and in any investigation is that we are doing a quality, complete investigation, and then we're bringing the appropriate information forward to the district attorney, and sometimes that takes time.
Have you looked at any of the electronics for information at all?
Yes, we've reviewed the electronics until we arrived at a point where it became clear that there was some privileged information, and at that point we stopped so that we wouldn't violate any of those privileges, particularly doctor-client privilege or attorney-client privilege with respect to the telephones.
You say you believe that there's other victims out there and you're asking them to come forward. What makes you believe that if you come across other evidence or other reports that you haven't been able to substantiate? What makes you believe there's other victims? And can you talk about how many people you think could be affected by this?
So I think that the way this occurred and the fact that they were both that the couple was both working together, that it was that they were going out, it was kind of a social thing, and it was so easy for them to do. I think that the likelihood is great that there are other victims, and I think, as you know, a lot of women don't report these kinds of things, and particularly they don't report it if it's the kind of thing where they maybe they went along for a while, or they did something that makes them feel guilty, or they don't want to have their name out there. So we're pretty clear that there are other victims, and that's why we're making these announcements. And that's why I'm saying today that other victims out there, please come forward, and we will protect your identity. We'll make sure that you're not just thrown out to the public. We'll be very careful with your information.
You're now talking about kidnapping. How does that change this case? And can you explain what you mean by that? So if you're drugged in a bar and then taken to another location that you're incapacitated, is that criminally considered kidnapping? Can you explain that?
So this is we talked before about if you're drugged, if you're intoxicated to the point where it's past your ability to consent. You're so intoxicated that you can't consent. You can't say yes. You can't say no. And then for a person to take advantage of that situation and have sex with somebody, that's a rape, because it's unconsented to. Similarly, if you're in a place like a public place or wherever it might be, you're in one place and you're drugged and intoxicated to the point where you have no ability to consent, and somebody takes you to another place of less safety for the purpose of committing some kind of a crime, that's kidnapping. And so that's what we're saying.
It appears that he's going to bail out along with his girlfriend shortly. Are you concerned?
Well, of course. I mean, we're always concerned in this situation. I think that Jennifer indicated that in court as well. And but I do think that with the bail at $1 million and the attention that they've gotten, I think that hopefully there isn't that great a likelihood that they're going to go out and commit any new crimes.
Sir, are you politicizing this by waiting so long to actually file the charges from January to September?
No, we filed the charges as soon as we could. You understand? We got the case on September the 6th, and we filed the charges very shortly after that. So, no, we've been working diligently to bring this case, and we've been working diligently to do what we could to bring any new charges as soon as we got them. And we're still open for additional charges, and there could be more. I'm not, we're certainly not ruling that out.
So to the 100 who've contacted your office, is it possible within that 100 that there are more charges coming?
It's possible. I think that within the calls and leads and tips that we've already received, my belief is that we pretty much filed what we're able to with respect to those. And understand some of those are different jurisdictions too, and we've sent that information to those jurisdictions as well.
Charges to be filed in other places?
I just don't have any expectation about that. We've sent the information to those places, and we'll just we'll see what they do.
Are they all in California or are they in other states? Can you tell us what area, what other counties or states we're talking about?
Some different counties in California, and also at least one other state that I'm aware of. Pardon me?
What state is that?
Nevada.
How many more do you expect are out there? You said the video shows hundreds. Is that
It's very hard. It's very hard to say, how many more there might be. And like I said before, we did see some videos where it appeared to be that there were women who were engaged, or who the defendants were having sexual contact with, where it appeared that they probably couldn't consent. So it's hard to tell, but I just think from the circumstances of this case that there are others, and and it's a kind of thing where maybe there are women out there who are not reporting it, and that's why we're asking them to please go ahead and come forward.
hundreds though? You had said earlier it might be hundreds on the video.
It could be, yes. I say I can't put a number on it, but it could be very substantial.
The defense attorneys, both of them, talked quite a bit about how Robicheaux and Riley went to Canada and they went to Europe, but they've come back and they were given their passports back. What did you think of all that as these victims are coming forward telling you these terrible stories? I mean, they've been traveling the world.
Right. So they've been free. They've been out and able to do pretty much as they wish. And I would like to see them in custody at the earliest possible time. That's my thought.
Why did you move up the arraignment to today?
Because we had the charges to file. There were more serious charges than had been filed. Charges that give rise to life sentences. And we thought it was important that they not be out on a low bail, and that we.
But the bail stayed the same.
No, it did not stay the same. Went from $100,000 to $1 million.
Tony, what about the women who now say perhaps you delayed too long in filing the charges because they had encounters with them during that time before they were charged?
I'm not hearing women saying that. I'm not hearing women saying that. Has somebody reported that to you, or?
It was the young lady, yeah, because I think the question
I'm having trouble hearing at this point, but I think I get the gist of your question. And the question is that because of the time period that it took to bring this case, might there have been other rapes that occurred during that time period? And I think that is a very unfortunate likelihood that during the time that the case was being worked on, and there were a number of things that had to be done. We had to have victims who were cooperative, and in order to get to the place where we did get, and that's why we were working hard when we when we became aware of the case, that's why we worked hard to bring it to prosecution so that we could put a stop to that conduct as soon as we could.
Chief, do you believe that there were women who were in danger while you were still doing your investigation?
I don't have information specific to that, but I think it's important, and it's been brought up a couple times. We're confident in our investigation. We're confident in the investigative work that has been done by our officers in this case. And so with that, I hope that addresses our feeling as a police department in terms of what our role is in this.
Chief, can you answer a question about the fact that what happened when you first went in 2016 and your officers came into contact with Dr. Robicheaux and Cerissa Riley, and at that point, what was found then? Could they have been charged earlier?
That's a difficult question for me to answer because I'm not the one that makes the charging decisions. What I can tell you is, again, these types of incidents require diligent investigative work, and that's what our team has been doing. And whether or not a charging decision could have been made in retrospect based on that, number one, I don't have the facts to comment in it, and it probably wouldn't be appropriate for me to make that type of decision as well.
Did it not raise a red flag? What?
And to arrest them or to file charges?
Once drugs done, once you came forward.
So in order to make an arrest, and I appreciate that the judge said, well, probable cause for a search warrant is the same as probable cause for an arrest, and that's true. But it's not the same in this sense that in order for us to make an arrest, we need to already have a case. We have to have the evidence together that we know we're going to be able to bring into court and to convict. So the defendant has a right to a preliminary hearing within 10 days. So if we just make an arrest on probable cause and we don't have what it takes to back that up and bring the evidence to court and get the conviction, we could have the case thrown out of court in a few days. So we're just not going to engage. It would be unprofessional and foolish to engage in that kind of behavior. So so the fact that there were guns there, those things that you're talking about, sure, that's if you look at that, that's evidence, and it adds to what we have, and it makes us want to pursue and bring a case.
Would you call it unusual that it took 2 years from the time of the victims making their statements to an investigator and the contact with police to then prosecute them?
Well, that's a significant amount of time for sure, and it's hard to characterize somebody usual, unusual, that sort of thing, because each case is different, and all of the circumstances involving eof case is different. The victims and how they are, and all of the things surrounding it. It just changes from one case to another. So I don't get surprised if it takes a long time or if it happens very quickly.
But just to clarify, because I feel like we're throwing out all these different dates and I'm getting all jumbled up in what is really accurate here. From the time that the search warrant was served until the time that the case was filed and they were arrested, were women drugged and raped by them?
We don't have any evidence of any women who have come forward during that time period. Let me back up on that. From the time that the search warrant was served. So what we have is we have 2 victims who were victimized during that time period that you're referring to, and they only came forward because the case was filed and because of the press conference that we had. They came forward because they felt that they should, because they wanted to give support to the 2 ladies who were victimized and about whom we charged files. We charged the case, and so we do have that. Yes.
So 2 women came forward after they were arrested to say by this couple?
So,
No? Jennifer, can you clarify? Yeah, please.
We don't have any information to believe there are charges after the search warrant was effectuated and before filing.
So these new 5 women, that the new 5 Jane Does.
okay,
this all
wait a minute,
happened
wait a
prior
minute.
to the search warrant.
Correct.
all right. So thank you. Let me.
Did those
You're getting me on that time period a little bit. So you've got the date that the search warrant was.
Beginning of the year. I just
The beginning of.
trying to understand whether any women were victimized between the time that the search warrant was served and their arrest. And the answer, I believe, is
Okay, the answer is no. I'm sorry, and I misspoke.
thank you.
That's a no. All right, thank you very much.
These 5 new women came after your press conference?
Yes. Yes, they all came after the press conference. All right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate your time and your attention.